Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's 4:02 on September the 24th, 2025. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Just some light housekeeping, as we normally do. Just want to remind everyone that this meeting is recorded, and it is will be showed to the public so that they are able to watch this when it suits them to witness what work we're doing. I want to make everyone aware that Chris Martin has had to withdraw from the commission. She had some personal issues that she needed to address. So also, we have Joe at the table with us. Welcome. He got appointed at the last county council meeting to, he was one of our alternates, and now he is now serving on the commission up here at the table with us. So with Chris stepping down, the county council, I think, are going to get a request to allow us to bring Brian up here and join us at the table. Hopefully that can be done for our next meeting. So we're glad we've got our alternates that can fill in for us when we needed them. Moving on, can I ask for approval of the minutes from September the 10th, 2025?
So moved. Second.
I do want to point out one thing. We have one correction. It should be she, not he, in the minutes, and can we point them out to you after the meeting and get those corrected? So that's noted. So I did have a motion.
Second.
Can I get that motion with that correction?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and then can I get them second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you for that.
Joe.
Joe?
Joe White and Joe.
Yeah, Joe. and-
Someone named Joe.
We
Take
have
your
a lot
pick.
of Joes here. Okay. So at our last meeting, we did ask the question if we could have some previous county executives and our current county executive attend and just kind of give us some idea on what they do, what their experience was, some things that they thought that would be good for us to know and take into consideration when we're having our discussion about the salary for the county executive. Our current county executive had a scheduling conflict. She can come to the next meeting if we still want to have her come and speak. Rick Pilot was going to be here today, but he's not feeling well. And we have John Pasota. So John actually rearranged his schedule to be here with us. John, do you want to come up here and join us at the table? Thank you for arranging your schedule to be here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So why don't you just kind of start off by saying what you did previously to be in the county executive and when you were the county executive, and share some thoughts on, what was your daily job? What were you tasked to do? What were some of the highlights? Some things that you wish could have been done differently? Anything you want to share that you think
Anything
can help
else?
us?
Is there anything else?
I want it all out here so we can take it all into consideration.
So let's do this. I'll lay out basically who I am, where I came from. And then I'll ask you guys and gals to ask me questions, because I can get passionate. I can go on and go on tangents. So maybe you guys can keep me straight by asking me the questions, and we can go from there. I also want to first and foremost thank you all. One of the things that I was most proudest of as the acting county executive was the commissions and the boards. We can't do in this county what we do without the volunteers, without people such as yourself that step up and volunteer for these boards. The county executive's office is responsible for about, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's been a little while, about 30 boards and commissions. And that includes the Police Accountability Board, which the county executive office established. But there's probably 70 boards and commissions, planning and zoning. I mean, it's numerous, and we can't do what we do without you. So thank you very much for what it is that you guys are trying to accomplish here today. My name's John Pasota. I'm from Salisbury. I went through the local school system here, raised in Salisbury, right downtown, and graduated from Salisbury State at the time with a BA in political science. And Operation Roundup, which at the time was a recruitment drive for the Maryland State Police, sounded like a good opportunity. And if anyone has a political science degree, you know, sometimes that the avenues and paths forward are a little bit limited. So it sounded good. My mother worked in the district court for 20-some years right across the hall here. And I knew a lot of state troopers, and I decided, hey, that sounds good. 25 and a half years later, I retired from the Maryland State Police with a foundation of policy, procedure, leadership, and supervision. I've served in several counties in this state. For about 8 years, I was a detective, if you will, handling major cases, robberies, homicides, et cetera. And then the rest of the balance of the career, I was in what's called FOB, or Field Operations Bureau. Upon retiring, I would jokingly say that after spending 8 years as the city manager for Fruitland, one of the more difficult jobs that I've had was convincing 5 council people in Fruitland that I, too, a retired state trooper, could be a city manager. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like, you know, they don't kind of fit together. But again, it's that foundation in policy, procedure, leadership, and supervision that allowed me to transition into that side of government. And almost 8 years later, County Executive Culver asked me to come over in July of 2020 to be the Director of Administration. At that time, the Director of Administration was retiring in July. The office was short an Assistant Director of Administration, and I came over, and then with the unfortunate passing of County Executive Culver, I then assumed the role of County Executive after being appointed in September of 2020 as the acting county executive. And I served in that role until December of 2022. Since then, I've established Pasota Consulting LLC, helping businesses and governments with their bottom line. So that's who I am. That's a very 30,000-foot view of what I bring and what I brought to the county executive's office. I approached it more along the lines of an executive or an administrator in dealing with the myriad of departments that you have to oversee as a county executive. So, having said that, any questions?
Yeah, I just want to say, John, I mean, I was the county council's attorney at the time you transitioned to county executive, and you came into a cauldron. The executive branch was in serious disarray. I won't get into the weeds on that, and you did a tremendous job. I will say that. So
Thank you,
thank
Mr.
you for
Taylor,
that.
and thank you for your service.
However, that said, got one little bone to pick. It was not the county executive that set up the Police Accountability Board. It was passed by legislation by the council, and that legislation was passed because of state legislation that said you got to do it. They changed, and then, I mean, it's a minor matter.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
minor.
so, yeah.
So if you want to, we could spend a lot of time about the police accountability, about the Police Accountability Act of 2021, and everything that the state forced down on local government, and basically said, here, you do it. Well, how do we do it? We don't know. We don't care. You got to do it. And, but
Yeah, it's kind of splitting hairs a little bit.
Mr. Pasota, can you kind of address or speak to what you feel the duties are of an executive based off what the charter states?
Well, again, approaching the position from one of an administrator, local government is the hardest government. Fruitland, Salisbury, Pittsville, all of our small municipalities have it very, very difficult because the state, the Fed puts down on the state puts down on the county puts down on local government, rules, regulations, fees, et cetera. So starting out as a city manager, you learn very quickly how to be nimble in dealing with your resources, in providing your citizens with the type of government that they expect and deserve, investing in their future, addressing their concerns, and then getting out of their way. So I tried to approach it as everything that came across my desk, be it a paperclip purchase or a multi-million-dollar project. I tried to view it through my lens as a taxpayer. So that was my guide. And again, I approached it from a more business-like prism, or viewed it through that prism, as opposed to a lot of politics or other things that can get in the way. Because you can, in an operation this big, with an over $200 million budget, 14 different departments. In the budget, there's about 54 different funding arms that you are responsible for. You can create an awful lot of sidetrack stuff. If you stick to your core basics, you can do the job, in my opinion, of what the people created the form of government of county executive for. Now, County Executive Pollitt, who is a friend and a mentor of me, I wish that he could explain, because I wasn't there at the time, as far as the creation of the county executive form of government here in Wicomico County. There's an unscientific theory out there that a county executive form of government is applicable for counties just our size, around 100, 105,000 people. During a day, during a weekday, our population can be treble that. And the impact on the community, on our infrastructure, can be quite impactful. So you have to take a lot of that stuff, a lot of that minutia and the fine stuff, and sort out the wheat from the chaff, again, to do the very best for what the citizens expect of their government.
Mr. Pizzotta, how often did you have to meet with the sheriff and the state's attorney regarding supervision of their departments?
Regarding the supervision of their departments?
Yes.
Not to put a too flippant line on it, but it's their shop. The state's attorney's office, the state's attorney is a duly elected person. The sheriff is a duly elected person. The only time that there might be an issue is if an employee's actions blends into the executive side. It happens rare, but you're talking about an operation with over 500 direct employees in that.
So you didn't have to supervise those at all?
No, because again, that supervision comes under the purview of those individuals.
What about wastewater for countywide or water service for the county? Was there any infrastructure like that that, as a county executive, you had to manage?
You'd have to,
Like you
you have to
did
clarify,
in
'cause at the time there wasn't, so.
Yeah. In Fruitland, you did as the city
Yes,
manager.
right.
But that wasn't something that was in your purview as the county executive for Wicomico County.
No, because I mean, so at the time, there wasn't the establishment of anything water or sewer, aside from the water sewer master plan that was started under the Culver administration and culminated under my administration. But there wasn't a creation of someone to supervise in those particular positions because it didn't exist. If I'm understanding your question.
Yeah, that is.
You understand, correct. Now, I will say this. So kind of to that point, the county executive, I've heard, and a lot of people chuckle at this when they hear it, a comparison between a county executive and the government, or correction, the governor of the state. The difference, the primary difference is a governor has a large staffs, large bureaucracies. Each department has large staff, large bureaucracies. For county government, you don't have that. You have department heads who have a skill set in each of their departments, and you rely on that. This is not this is no revelation. This is management 101. You rely on that department head to manage their department, to manage their people. You, as the county executive, and I say again, remember my position in the county executive's office. I didn't have a director of administration. I was the director of administration. I was the assistant director of administration for a multitude of reasons. However, let's say as a county executive, you're going to rely on your director of administration to then look at their department heads, and then if there's something you need to step in or need to direct or whatever, then that's kind of the role in the managing and supervision of the individuals below you. And in Wicomico County, I cannot tell you the quality of the individuals that you have leading your departments. One of the most rewarding things of a supervisor, or for me particular, was to see the unrestricting, if you will, of your department heads. I'm sorry, that of your department heads to make decisions. These, again, are highly qualified and skilled individuals, and when you give them that opportunity to make good decisions, and then you see the light in their eyes and in their employee and in the people under them of the good that comes out of those decisions, there's little more that's rewarding than seeing that. And in Wicomico County, you get a lot done for your taxpayer money.
Mr. Pisotta, if I can then, just because you brought up something I think that's kind of important for context. So you effectively did 3 jobs at the same time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you were doing that in a pretty volatile era, too, in which you had the executive, Culver, who died in office, a bit of a controversy about who would be appointed, and then your appointment, as well as all of that happening in 2020. So you had quite an experience that, to some extent, would be atypical as far as the shortages that you dealt with. So I guess the question that I have is, based on what you said about the ability, ideally, to sort of not micromanage, the department heads and sort of let the people that have the skills do their job, is it fair to say that right now the executive position in Wicomico County is more or less comparable to some of our other peer counties as far as expectations and duties, just based on what you saw from your vantage point?
I'm going to extrapolate your question to what I think it is you're asking, and that is, are we comparable to other counties when we're looking at the generalized structure of a county government?
Were the duties that you executed as executive comparable to, let's say, Cecil or Anne Arundel? Now, again, I understand that's an unfair question given the very unique challenges you faced doing these other jobs, but as much as possible, what would you say the role that you fulfilled in the executive role compared to those?
Yeah, the honest answer to you, Joe,
Yeah.
is I don't know.
Fair enough.
Because at the time, so I come in as the Director of Administration, which is just as it says in the charter. You come in to do a job, and then because of whatever's going on or whatever the unique set of circumstances, then I am in the position of the acting county executive. So as I'm learning the position of Director of Administration, I'm also feeling my way through being county executive during COVID. Now, that's an important distinction because also the complexities in supervision, the complexities of making decisions, not only amongst your workforce, but decisions that also have an impact in the community, weigh heavily,
Yeah.
and have extreme consequences. So I would like to say, yeah, I would reach out to so and so in this county and say, how did you do this, or whether as you do as a city manager. And also, there is an informal network, and there's a formal network. There's MACO, there's MML on the municipal side. I was past vice president and president of the Lower Eastern Shore Mayors Association, so you get to know the value of networking with, those that have gone before you. I mean, that's again management 101. But as far as what I think it is that you're asking, I can't say whether or not Wicomico being an apple and Cecil also being an apple. I can't tell you that. I will tell you this. Wicomico County is a unique county. We are the hub. We are the regional hub. And as such, again, where we go, our population grows so much during a weekday. And all of the resources and 2,400 businesses. We've got 100 or 200 headquarters of very large companies, worldwide companies, right here in this county. We've got our park system. We've got so much to attract people here that it's a uniquely dynamic agriculture. I believe at the time we were #1 in the state in agriculture and agriculture export. Balancing all of that is unique in this region. So we might not be apples to apples because the decision-making process is different for the goal that you're trying to accomplish, and that is to balance all of those entities and all those great strengths in Wicomico County.
Sure, I appreciate that.
And again, I apologize. I can kind of get passionate about some things and go on and on. So if your eyes roll, I'll try and.
It's very helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I had dealings in Fruitland, there was no real, what you would call mayor there that ran the executive branch and had veto power. The city manager essentially was kind of a quasi-mayor, answered to the council, of course, but then ran things more or less as if he were like the mayor in Salisbury. And I don't think that's changed.
It has, just as the nature of government has changed. So in Fruitland, you're giving me flashbacks now.
Well, I got something further to say on that.
So you have a 5-person council and you have a council president. So with councils, as with the county executive, you have different areas of responsibility. When a municipality such as Fruitland hires a city manager, they're looking for someone that will take care of the day-to-day operations of the city, and the council guides the direction, and they count on a city manager to do the day-to-day operation as well as to implement the wills of the council. Again, I'll go back to your small municipalities. They're the hardest form of government.
I'm going to deviate a little bit, but
Sure.
I'm glad you said that about the day-to-day, because if you look at the charter, the executive branch, the duties of the county executive are almost exactly what you said, to run the day-to-day executive branch of the government. But my point is, you are the second person that was a former Fruitland city manager or town manager that became a county executive. Rick Pollitt was the first.
Right.
He had the position that you had. And I think that there's something to be said for that, because in each case, you had that experience of executive direction, because that's the nature of Fruitland. The city manager essentially is running the city government, just like the county executives is supposed to be running the county government.
But my follow-up question would be, does the director of administration and the assistant director of administration, do they do most of the day-to-day in the county government? 'Cause I know you filled that role for a little while, but.
Yeah, hold that thought. Do you need to close the loop?
No, go ahead. I mean, if you,
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt him.
Again, I can only give you the answer through the type of individual and the manager that I am. I'm the type that likes to see things, to like to go out on the project and see what it is. You know, we've got a $3 million project or whatever, and when we continue to have change orders, and why are we? You know, what's the problem here? This doesn't fit in there. I need to go in there and see that. Yeah, that's me. I like to get my hands dirty and to see what it is that we're doing. But that's, you know, that can be more of the role of the director of administration, because as the county executive, you know, I'm relying on the director of administration for when I, as county executive, have to sign off on another change order. I'm going, why am I doing this? You know, what, so my director of administration, I want that person to come to me and say, yeah, I don't know. Humor story. For some reason, when I said you look at the price of, you look at the stuff like just as simple as a paper clip that will come across your desk. Sometimes if we take our ball off the little stuff, it kind of piles up, and then you got to deal with it. You got to deal with it when it becomes big. For some reason, the public works departments love to buy shovels. I don't know. It's like every time you turn around, you see an invoice for shovels. It's like, what's going on? And if you go down to Public Works, you look in a closet, and there's a room full of shovels. But yet the mentality is sometimes, hey, I got a project over here. I got to go over here and buy a shovel to go do this instead of, you know, so that kind of thing, if you follow up on it. But that's me. Sometimes I get down into the weeds. I think the question is, if I'm trying to remember your question, does the county executive have the responsibility by the charter or whatever to do that, to get down into the weeds and do the supervision of that stuff? That's, you know, that's up to the individual. So some can, and some should, and some don't. And, you know, I can only give you my perspective. I'm more of a hands-on person.
Well, let me ask you a question, and pardon me if this is personal, but you were at one point the county the director of administration in July of 2022. Wouldn't you have had to take a pay cut to be less hands-on? So what?
No. So when I there were. When I was appointed the acting director of administration, I did so with the salary of the director of administration for what I came over. I'd forgotten what at the time in 2020 what the salary was for the county executive, but I was hired as the director of administration, and I maintained that salary for the duration of my term. So,
did you hire a new director of administration when you became the county executive?
No, there's a multitude of there was several opportunities, a few individuals. We continued from the moment that I became the acting county executive to look for a director of administration, as well as an assistant director of administration, as well as a public works director. There are challenges for all of those positions at that time, and there's again a multitude of reasons why those positions could not be filled. And again, you had COVID, you had uncertainty, you had there's as just a few of the issues going on. There was another important caveat, if you will, upon being confirmed, or appointed rather, and that is, I had the same duties, the same responsibilities, the same consequences, everything that a county executive had that would have been duly elected, I had. So I say that. Another quick story. An individual, a friend of mine, we go back a while, and in local government, an individual that I would go to for the networking aspect and a mentor, if you will. Recently, we're having coffee, and he was telling me some things that were going on and whatever, and I'd just would shake my head. And so when I made a comment to this individual about my tenure as county executive, and that we had, at that time, it's been alluded, a lot of stuff going on. So I want to say that I tried my best to still the waters and get good government back on track. But this individual looked at me when I said, we had our disagreements, the executive's office and the council, but we tried to do it behind closed doors or do it with some form of communication. And the individual said, well, didn't you work for the Didn't you work for the council? And I said, no, it's a separate entity. It's a separate, it's a separate form that we're trying to do here. My point there is, people don't really realize out here that Wicomico County has, it's sad to say, an executive form of government. They might not know what kind of government we have here. When people move here, they don't care what kind of government that you got. They don't know where the Salisbury city line stops and the county line starts. All they want is the government they expect and they deserve. And so, again, get on a tangent, but I apologize.
So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I want everybody to have a chance to ask a question. So if you haven't asked the question yet, I'm going to give you that opportunity, and then we'll follow up if we can.
Sure. Dr. Christians had her.
Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Sebastian. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm out of it.
Hi.
You've had your hand
But
up.
look, I'll try and shorten my answers, but
This is not a job interview. We are here asking about your past job, but I think maybe what would be good for me to hear is, what are your 3 top accomplishments in this role? Like, if you look back and you say, I did this.
so if I gave the impression that it's a job interview, I apologize. What I was trying
I think
to,
other people have.
Okay. What I was trying to do was give you a sense that I kind of know where I speak in the government realm of having worked as a city manager and what have you. Are you talking about at the county level, or are you talking about what?
We're
county
only
executive
Yeah,
role.
we're only talking about the county executive.
So
I
on
don't
the county
know
yeah.
any other.
Yeah. So on the county executive level, I'd like to say that again, the environment in which I came over to the county was one where we could have needed some stilling of the waters, if you will. So I want to say that I brought some level of competency, level of let's get back to the job of serving the people. And I think the policies and the procedures accomplished that. I provided the environment in which we could get government back on track. I say that with much hubris. It's something that I think that we did. Very proud of the salary compensation survey and the implementation of that. And I say, too, that the executive's office had the assistance of the legislative body, of the council. We did this, it's kind of like the county executive tees it up in different agendas, and it takes everyone to get that accomplished. And also, thirdly, guiding the county through COVID. Regardless of what your attitude, decision, or whatever your position is on COVID as a whole and what we all went through, at the time, it was something we hadn't gone through. And there was a complexity of decisions and that had to be made in order to protect your citizenry and also continue to function in the form of government to move forward. So.
Coming down? No. Anybody else?
Down here, we had a question down here, I believe.
Yes. Good afternoon. I've been here 6 years. I come from 32 years in Pennsylvania, and most of the county governments I'm familiar with were run by county commissioners. I'm not sure that we had any executive form of government in any of the Pennsylvania counties. So you are probably in a better position to answer this question than anyone else who would have shown up in the fact that you were an administrator. So in the Pennsylvania counties, the administrator that was hired by the commissioners, they ran the county day to day. And it sounds like that's what the administrator does in Maryland counties.
Yes. So in the charter, it's the list of duties for the director administrator. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I wasn't here obviously in 2006. So what advantages were there in what changed from going to the council form of government to the executive form? I mean, I'm looking at the powers and duties, and there's not a lot of meat on the bone compared to what the director of administration is doing day to day. So since you've been in both positions, what can you say the advantage was of going to the executive form of government?
I believe I understand your question, and that is, if you didn't have a county executive, you'd have a director of administration. So there are others in this room that can perhaps explain what was going on in 2006. I can only give you my historical interpretation as to what occurred to lead the people to establish an executive form of government. I would say at this point, today, it might not matter. We have an executive form of government if the intention at the time, which I believe was, is, and should be, the expectation of what is in the charter. The expectation that if you asked someone who thought they knew that we had a county executive form of government here, if you ask them what it is that you want that form of government to accomplish, I think it's what I said at the beginning, and that is they want a form of government that they expect and deserve, one that manages their resources, one that keeps them safe, themselves and their property, invests in their future, and then to get out of the way. I think that's just naturally what we want as a citizen anywhere. But with the county executive form of government, you still have that responsibility as an executive to do those things. But you also have the council as the legislative body, and you need to work together.
Yes.
I'm not sure if
Oh, he doesn't have a mic. The person next to you.
So,
Oh.
if
Joe,
I can,
finish his.
Yeah, I'm just, all those things happen, all the powers and duties that the executive have now.
right?
And again, I wasn't here in 2006, and I thought you were going to you started to say what caused that. But it seems to me, the executive powers and duties, they were taken care of other ways, whether it was council, whether the administrator. So when they created this executive position, what advantage was that for the taxpayers? Did it make government more efficient?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a.
Yeah, I think that is such a loaded question,
There's
if you
gonna be a
will.
difference of opinion depending on who you talk
Yeah,
to.
and-
Okay, all right, and again, I wasn't here, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to.
you're just gonna get, you're gonna get a variety of opinions.
But I think
on all
at the
that.
end of the day, your council people, your department heads, your director of administration, we work in county government. For the most part, we are altruistic individuals. We want the best because we know we live here. We want the best for here. We're going to try and do our best to provide that.
I agree.
So I think that the prism in which they looked at establishing that form of government for whatever reason, perhaps you can go back and study that time, was still at the end of the day to make the best of the taxpayers' resources, provide them with a form of government that they expect and deserve. And the reason they did it then is still the reason that they do it now. It just may be a little bit more circular on how you get there. I think the reasoning is the same.
Okay, let's have one more question.
Oh, go ahead.
So I'm going to try to simplify this. I would like to know, for me, what was the greatest motivating factor that put you in that position to become county executive? What was the motivating factor? What brought you there?
It's a long story.
The same that brought me to the county, me personally, and you can extrapolate on how this fits to what it is that you're trying to accomplish here. For me, the same reason why I came here as director of administration. I was very happy in Fruitland. They treated me very well. I after almost 8 years there, a comfortability, a knowledge of small government, and but when asked to come over here, after realizing that you can go from the second largest city in the county, that sometimes if you rely on what it is that the skill set that you have, leadership, supervision, policy, procedure, that sometimes, and understanding projects and funding and budgets and HR, that you can apply those same skills on the county level. The numbers are just bigger. But it speaks, in my opinion, I looked at it as though it was something I was asked to do to help out my county. And that's the opportunity that I took. And I'd do it again 10 times out of 10.
there anyone who hasn't asked a question yet that has a question?
I'd like to make one observation, though, if I could.
Okay, and then I just
had a
we've got a
follow-up
lot.
question. Yeah.
We've got a lot to cover today, so it's going to keep us moving. So you want to ask your question?
If you could, can you maybe talk about like the 5 core duties?
Did you say this wasn't a job interview?
No, but like, you gave us a lot of stories,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
and I
wanted
apologize for that.
I wanted to get like a bullet pointed version of what this role looks like.
I can't list out 5, but if you're talking about the position of county executive and what it is you guys are tasked for, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to cut to the chase from my perspective, and that is if you guys are weighing whether or not to keep the salary of the county executive the same or increase the county executive's salary, I would argue you need to raise the county executive's salary. At the end of the day, there's something that a county executive has that is tasked with that justifies, to some degree, you have to compensate that position accordingly. What is that? I don't know. You can look at you can do studies that crunch the data and figure, okay, well, this county is this county is that, or whatever. To Joe's question, we may not be apples to apples to other, but at the end of the day, what the county executive has is responsibility. I've come across many administrators, supervisors, that could possibly be a county executive, could possibly be a city manager. People that I've asked, hey, will you accept a position higher than where you are? And ultimately, in many cases, they don't want the responsibility. They don't want to hire. They don't want to fire. They don't want, when you sign your name on a contract for millions of dollars, it can be daunting. Yes, you're bonded and you have legal counsel and you have, there's a lot of information on leading you to competently and confidently signing a contract. But at the end of the day, something goes wrong, it's your responsibility. And in order to get an individual into that position that will accept that responsibility, sometimes you have to compensate that, or else you may not have a qualified pool that wants to get into government, especially today. So, it's educating individuals as to what a county executive does, but the responsibility is very large. It can have a lot of consequences.
I just want to follow up, John, on your comments about when you first came in and the chaotic situation. And at least to my view, and I did actually have meetings with you, if you'll remember, in your office occasionally, with other people, not just you and me. I think that your experience in Fruitland had really helped you because you knew the ropes generally, and so you didn't have to worry about that. You had that education and that experience. And at least I'm just speculating, you don't have to answer, but to me, that really helped you do that job that you were essentially thrown into. The question was, how did you become county executive? The short answer is Bob Culver died, so.
Well, there were some, after he passed, then there were some the environment was that that's what I ended up doing, was becoming the.
So to me, you were
acting
among
county
that
executive.
pool of qualified people that you mentioned that you were at the high level of that pool. There are not too many around.
So you can also look at the county executive, think of the term, county executive. You can look at, are there parallels with the state's attorney? Are there parallels with the sheriff? you'd want your sheriff to be in law enforcement. You'd want the state's attorney to be familiar with the laws of the state of Maryland. But that's me. I'm more of a administrator, understanding that what the role of government is the way I would want government to be run. And that's the way I approached it.
I think everybody's had a chance to
Thank you.
speak and ask a question. Are we okay, moving on?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
No, and
taking your
again,
time
thank
and
you.
rearranging your schedule.
Thank you
I
for
know you
the-
had to make some schedule changes, but I appreciate you doing that for us.
It was my pleasure for this opportunity.
Yeah, I think you've been able to answer a lot of questions for folks, so thank you so much for that.
Hey, Michelle, I don't think we did a roll call. We just got right to
Start down
it.
there, and
Chelsea Phillips Hutton.
Oh, Dr. Margaret Sebastian.
Steve Doubt.
Jim Atkins.
Michelle Wright.
Bob Taylor.
Joe Schiaffino.
Stefan Feliciano.
Joe Venosa.
Philip White.
And then we have an alternate. Okay. All right, thank you. Keep me straight, guys. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda. We had asked for more information. We did not have the Anne Arundel information from our last meeting. So the agenda item is perks for Cecil County, Frederick County, and Anne Arundel. There was a spreadsheet that was emailed to all of us that did include the Anne Arundel information. We had previously had the Cecil and Frederick County information. Does anybody have any questions or comments related to the information that we received? Is there anything at all from that document?
Maybe Lynn knows, but wasn't Laura going to try to get information on Cecil?
They never got back to us.
Never got back, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to take a little trip up there.
Okay. The next item on the agenda was something that I had asked for. Two things. One is the review the budget and positions for the sheriff's office and state's attorney's office. We've had some discussions about comparing ourselves to nonprofits, to other businesses similar in size, looking at other county government, those kinds of things. And I thought that if we could, and there was also some questions about, from the sheriff's office, we fund them, or I say we, the county council and the county executive fund them, but they really don't have a say on how those monies are spent on a day-to-day basis. But I thought that it might be good to have some numbers to say, if we've got, if Wicomico, the executive, has 5 executive staff, they've got 520 full-time employees, 13 departments, if we could have that data to compare to our sheriff's department. So that's why I asked for that information. You may find it important or not important. It may come up with more discussion when we get talking about the sheriff's salaries. So we would have it early instead of getting it later. So I just wanted to share that information. I did try to talk to the state's attorney. She wasn't available. She is going to call me tomorrow so I can get more information, and then we can have that for further discussion if you want to have that in your, in your mind when you're thinking about the proper salary for the county executive. So that was the basis behind that. I will say I did talk to Sheriff Lewis, and let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least 15 different divisions that he oversees. There's 101 sworn positions. There are some vacancies, 108 vehicles, there's 8 motorcycles, and then, like I said, there's several different divisions that he oversees. So I just wanted to put that out there, and we can review that more when we get talking about the sheriff and his salary. So now I want to bring it up.
I just had a thought on when you talk about the number of departments or divisions, I think you have to remember that each government classifies them somewhat differently. Mr. Pasoda, I think he said at the time, didn't he say the county had like 14, maybe John, or 15?
Yeah,
And
I think if I remember correctly, there's probably 11 to 14 departments that respond directly to you,
Yeah.
touch every day. And then on top of that, there's probably another 20 that you have to absolutely know what's going on about constantly.
And there's been a trend in local government to combine departments. The city's done it. I think the county's done it to an extent. So what one county has and another county has, and I think this pertains to the sheriff's office too, they all do essentially the same thing. And one might have 3 divisions. I've looked at several sheriff's offices just in the last 24 hours going on their websites. And I mean, some of them have essentially none, but then they'll talk about patrols and different types of, then people who serve process servers, they all distinguish different job types. So, I mean, it's really the overall number that they have. And I can tell you on the Sheriff Lewis's website, I counted them last night, they have every employee listed by name. And right now, there's a total of 105. That's sworn and unsworn. So there are some vacancies, I understand that.
There are some
And
vacancies,
you
yes.
probably have, I see you have it with you, that the analysis I did of other sheriffs.
Yeah.
Frederick County, since they operate the jail in Frederick County, the sheriff's office, there are almost 600 employees in the sheriff's office. I mean, that's 6 times more than we have. So the scope of the job differs very much from county to county, based on the size, on whether the sheriff operates the jail or not, which they do in most of these smaller counties, but not here. And there are a lot of, and whether the county has a police department. So, you know, that's why you have to look at this very carefully and not just look at a number. Well, this one has 26 departments, this one only has 23. I'm looking at the county executive list now. For example, Anne Arundel County has 4,283 full-time employees. That's 8 times more than we have, although the county population is just 6 times more than we have. Now, if you take out their police department, which in Anne Arundel County is upwards of 1,000, then it comes down to they're more in the same ratio that we are, 6 to 1, in terms of population. So you really have to look behind the curtain and not just look at a number when you're doing this.
Okay, so next is for general discussion. I really would like for us to spend the next half hour talking about the salary that we're all thinking about for the county executive. I think there was some talk about the CPI inflation numbers that we received from last time, the buying power that comes with that. So I want to open it up now so that we can start getting really drilling down and getting down to, do we want to increase the salary? If we do, what are those numbers we want to take into consideration? And then I hope we can come to a consensus. If we can't, we'll take a vote, and then the vote will be what we will present to the county council. So I'm going to open it up. Is anybody willing to start that discussion?
Can I make a general suggestion on this? One thing we haven't considered is the county's fiscal or financial position going forward. These salaries cannot be changed by the county council once the term of office begins. So whatever they set, that's going to be it. So what should we look at in this regard? A couple of points that are worth making. I think I may have mentioned this before. Moody's Analytics has just named Maryland as one of the high-risk counties for a recession. We know that the state is already in a terrible fiscal situation. We lead the nation in federal jobs that have been cut by DOGE. It's now over 15,000. They're primarily high-paid jobs because D.C. is the headquarters for most of the bureaucracy in the federal government. So Maryland does not look good. Now, the county, we don't have a lot of federal employees, obviously. But when that hits in the metro core, and that's where they live primarily, then there's going to be a real cutoff in revenue, from tax revenue, in particular income tax revenue. And if the state tightens up, every time they've done it before, Mr. Holloway can speak to it, where does it end up? Where does the screw really get turned? It's in the smaller counties like this. So I think you have to take this into account. If you're doing anything in business, making any kind of an investment or figuring out what salaries are going to be, you got to look to the future. And it doesn't look real good.
So let me ask this question. Does everybody want to raise the salary?
No, I'll throw the stone and say I believe it should remain as is.
And I concur. I believe it should stay as is.
Does anybody disagree with that?
I'd say I disagree.
I disagree.
Disagree. I think, and the reason CPI numbers, even mentioning past executive, sat there and said it should be raised. And looking at that number, so the number is 107 currently. And then
Yeah.
you could take that the CPI numbers throughout all the positions. I can tell you right now that 107 number, being in government, city government, that number is not your top echelon number. Does it have to be? Probably not. But keep in mind that same thing, okay, you keep it the 107. It was 107 for 4 years. That's going to be another 4, correct? So that 107 is eight years.
Sure.
You say a normal employee get a couple percent COLA per year at 8 years. Okay, 2% is a low number there. Okay, you're looking at, say, 16%. So I don't think you can say you lose out on the 16%, but do I think because it's an elected role, it shouldn't, whether it's council president, vice president, executive, sheriff, should they miss out on all of that potentially the regular employees get?
It's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought up the caveat that it is an elected position, so that does, I think, factor into some of this. I guess I'm looking at it in the context of two things. One is that in 2022, I believe, right, Councilman Holloway, the council increased the position by 21%. So it was 85,000, and then it went to 107. Is that correct?
Yes.
It did.
Yeah.
More or less.
I
That's
don't know the
that's fair.
percentages right, but it did go from
That-
85,000
okay.
to the 107.
I think that's-
But keep in mind with
but-
that is that we went for
Yeah,
10
I understand.
years with no increase.
I understand. The second point for context, and this goes back to Mr. Scafino's point or question to Mr. Pasota, is I've yet to be able to fully see any difference in what the executive does as an official elected position and anything that can't be done with the director of administration or assistant. Meaning, at this point, from where I'm sitting, I don't see the position as actually functioning in any way that would make a difference in the county. Now I do want to be clear. I have a very obvious bias in that. I was the chairman of the campaign to abolish it last election, so I'm very clear in my
Interesting. Okay.
position. Yeah. And 48% of the county voted in that way, meaning there's almost half of the population of the county, you could argue, that don't believe the position should exist. So that's the context I'm looking at it in terms of it. So
Your
Yeah.
context is saying, oh, well, there's a director and a deputy director of administration that handle sort of the same thing. So you're saying, now you're saying salary-wise, what would you say, oh, it should be split because you have a director under you? As opposed to Mr. Pasota, who said he did all three. So how would you relate saying that some of those duties can be intertwined?
sure. I'd like to give her a chance to talk, because she had her hand up,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that I disagree with you necessarily.
Yeah.
But that's not the conversation at hand. And the position exists.
Sure.
There's a person in it.
Yep.
And so I think that we need to narrow our lens. It's not whether or not we can validate the position as it is right now. I understand.
Sure,
your conversation.
sure.
I'd even be interested to hear more.
Yeah,
But it's not a problem we're going to solve today.
for sure.
So I think that when we narrow that lens and we're talking about what is essentially a pay raise, elected or not, for someone who is performing in a position that hasn't seen a pay raise for a certain number of years, and comparably, we are expecting to see appropriate pay raises relative to COLA or however you want to measure that for employees under said individual, there needs to be some balance there. So that is why I am in favor of a raise, not necessarily because of the specificity of this position, and certainly not the individual. I think that there is some vagueness, and I think it's understandable with regard to what she handles, but the reality is I would not want to do it. And so I think if I'm in consideration of all of these points, it's still appropriate to assign a relatively small but appropriate raise for the role.
What raise, and just because I think you both made very articulate arguments, what raise do the two of you actually propose? I'm just interested in hearing.
I honestly, with the points that he's made about COLA, 2% annually, something along those lines, I think is, and stepping it. I would not necessarily suggest this lump sum percentage raise at this time, but stepping it over the length of term.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was not allowed, or not, we couldn't do the steps? So then, I mean, in that case.
You can-
okay,
you can
if
do
you're gonna
steps.
Backing into it.
If you were gonna do, say, okay, 2% for the 4, okay, middle ground that, and say, well, okay, for 2 years, you'll get a little bit more technically, then you won't get it at the back end. You can do math that way. I mean, and I agree with that, because this is for 4 years, so whatever you're setting is for 4 years. So,
Well, I'm sorry.
there you go, you're good.
Well, I think what we said at the last meeting, when we talked about this a little bit with the COLA, was that if the county executive feels like the employees are only worth a 3% increase in their salary, then why would that position be any different? And you're looking at 3%.
And I agree, and I'm thinking that same way. And then you said, say that 3%, but that'll be 3% at 4 years, or the past 4 years. And then if you compound that 3%, it's almost right at that CPI number of, say, the 116 and change. And then that's your essentially 3%. I mean, I don't know if employees had the same thing, but it's probably similar.
Yeah, no, and I understand and I see where you're going with the 3%. I'm looking at thinking a one-time 3%, because we don't know what position the county's going to be in the next 4 years. And in 2008, 9, and 10, when the county got in fiscal hardships, the employees did not get a raise those years because the county couldn't afford to give employees a raise. So are we going to put it in here where we're going to give a position a raise every year when there may be a time that the employees aren't going to get one?
But I don't think we can do that every year.
We can't. Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
what
we
we've been
wouldn't-
told.
I don't think you
I
can
think I-
say you're going to give them a 3% raise every year. I still think you could say we're giving them this amount this year, or this amount this year, or this amount this year.
We're making a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I jump in? It's just, Mr. Podesta touched on it, and I kind of have the perspective. He said, people run for these positions for mostly altruistic reasons. In fact, I was a borough councilman for 8 years in Pennsylvania, and I didn't run for the position for the money. I don't think, if you ask anybody, they tell you they're not in it. In fact, if I recall correctly, the current county commissioner during her campaign said, I'm not running for this position for the money. People want to contribute to the community. So whether we pay $107,000, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to a raise, but whether we pay $107 or $207, it's not going to change the pool of candidates, and it's not going to change the quality of candidates that we get. If we were at $107,000 for the next 15 years, we're still going to have people running for county executive. We're still going to have people running
You may.
for. I'm sorry?
You may, but
Yeah.
you may not.
Oh, I guarantee you will.
Not if poverty changes per salary. So I understand the idea that you are going with, but at some point, the salaries will not equal what people need to live. So right now, we're above that, and when we look at like the poverty lines of salaries, it makes total sense. But I don't think that is, maybe that's what you would really think about as it relates to the salary, but as it relates to qualified people being in a position, people want to be compensated for their time.
Okay.
And I agree with qualified people want to be in a position for their time. an election for a county official is not based off qualifications.
That's
a
the
popularity
issue.
contest.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's because you have no qualifications.
But people still want to be they still want to be compensated for their time, regardless of if it's a popularity contest or not. You still are spending your time doing something. And if they got voted in because they were popular or they were pretty, regardless, they got voted in and now they have to do responsibilities.
But I think the administrator and the deputy administrator, as Mr. Pasota said, and as the charter says, they are basically the people running the county. The executive is overseeing those people. She's overseeing 2 people who are making sure that the other 20 departments are doing their jobs and doing what's supposed to happen.
Well, this is the crux of my little problem here, is that Mr. Pasota is an embodiment of that. He did 3 jobs in one and basically proved. Now, again, I understand the circumstances were rather extraordinary, but it basically demonstrates the nature of the issue here. There is no guarantee that anybody elected as a county executive is going to bring anything extra than what the administrator and deputy administrator are doing. So if we're going to justify, especially in an economic situation like we're in, some kind of raise, I'd like to see evidence that it actually applies to something that the position brings, and I just don't see that, and that's where I'm at. So
I think you wanted to share something.
There's no mic.
he's going.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think one of the biggest things that the challenge is to equate the value of this position versus my personal successes. I think we were told to look at 3 different counties, and I looked through 3 different counties and made my comparison, and I thought that of the 3, that Cecil County was the closest in comparison. So I used those factors. They both deal with budgets over 200 plus. I mean, in comparison, Cecil County right now, the county executive's salary is at $98,000, but in 2028, it's going to increase to $130,000 plus. So
No, they turned that down.
That's incorrect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they voted it down. The voters voted that down.
that's correct. Okay.
It'll stay at 98.
Okay. I guess my point is how are we going to get qualified people to fill these positions? I know we talked about hard skills, soft skills, but, we can't negate the fact that this position historically was undervalued from a compensation portion of it.
My counter to that would be our current county executive in April of 2022 herself at that podium stated that $100,000 was an appropriate salary for the executive. And actually it was during their presentation.
But I would respond to that was a person who had no experience in that job at the time.
I understand.
I think that if it were me, and I've done 4 years of this or 3 years of this at this point, and I've learned what it takes to do that job, I think I would change.
But we're not doing it for the person in the role.
But we should be talking about what the current executive
Exactly.
feels.
It's
or
the
has
position.
Well,
in the past.
we brought in John Pasota, though.
But that was to give input. You're going back to what she was doing when she was campaigning, correct? We are now
I think that
here-
they're valid. I think it's a valid point.
We are here to look at the position.
Okay.
And the task and the job duties
Well,
for that
she's-
position.
but
We need to
she's-
focus on that and not on
But I
personal
think-
thought.
Exactly.
But we already brought in another county
I think
executive.
because we have tons of data, statistics.
Yeah.
I think he said he was up till 1 a.m. a couple of those nights getting some of these numbers. And coming from finance, I love I'll look at the statistics all day. But at some point we have to, and I think we have a couple that say, well, on on your end, the statistics and/or all the information we have say, keep it flat for another 4. Now, I see some of those points, and then I don't agree, but I think sometimes we get too much in the weeds, so we kind of have to go through if we're like, hey, if everyone says keep it the same, then it is what it is, and we just have to roll through.
Well, I think Mr. Feliciano's point is the correct one, in the fact that, I mean, Cecil County is often used as our comparative benchmark. And we are paying, at this point, $9,000 more than they are. So we're kind of, you could make the argument, already providing more than what a peer county offers. So, again, putting aside the vote.
And they don't have a vehicle to.
And they don't have a vehicle either, yeah.
I appreciate all of this. I honestly do. And I think the variables that we're comparing, it makes sense. But I think the initial focus, and I think that's where we got a little distracted. We brought in someone to tell us, like, hey, this was what I did. This is the life I had. This is how I got there. It was a very personal testimony.
Yeah.
I think the question is, do we increase someone's salary that has not received a raise in 4 years? I do not know our person. I have no context of her. I don't have any connection to anything that's happening behind the scenes. I don't even know what's going. Like, there's just things that I am not considering because I am not connected to her. But I am concerned that we're getting distracted because of our connection or experience or history with that particular person. And she may not be here. And I'm going to say, if it was up to me, if I'm voting for someone or if I'm voting for a position to have a raise, whether it's a COLA or something, then that's a yes for me. Because that would bring in qualified people, period. Not her, not anybody else, but just qualified people, period.
You're saying if a 3% COLA was applied, it would bring in a new amount of qualified people?
I'm saying that a 3% COLA for anybody shows that they are appreciated in their work.
I don't
Right,
think
but-
I don't think I could vote to keep it the same. That essentially is, and this is for vice president. This comment goes for all.
Yeah.
To keep it the same would essentially mean in 8 years, because it'll be 8 years that position hasn't changed. So as someone in government, very well aware of
Yeah.
salaries in local government,
Yeah.
to the T. All of it's public information. There's very few positions that are frozen for 8 years, whether it's the executive, council, vice president, sheriff. I don't think I could vote for something that essentially says you will have 8 years of the same salary.
Well, it's been that way in Cecil County. It's been 98,000, I think, for roughly 10 years now, ever since they became a charter county with an
Yeah,
executive.
and
So it
I wouldn't want that if I was in that position for 8
Yeah.
years,
Well,
personally.
they're not having any problem getting people to run.
They may not be,
But
but
is that what we
so-
want for our county?
Well-
We've got the data, we've compared the data, we've asked
If
the
I'm honest,
questions,
it
we've
just
had a
feels
discussion.
wrong.
Is that what we
Yeah.
want in our county?
Okay, I'm gonna put this out there and you all can knock it down real fast. But I'm gonna put it out there.
This guy's calculating.
107,000 is the current salary. A 3% raise takes it to $110,210.
I could support that.
I would support that.
So what's 3 divided by 8? That's essentially what they would get per year. So
No.
you're saying 3%.
3% is what?
You're saying a flat 3 from the 107 is your 110, 210.
110, 210, yes, and
Now,
that would be the
for another
salary
for
for the
another
next
4
4
years.
years.
Yep.
Yes.
Next 4 years, our salary would be that amount for 4
I would,
years.
I would suggest making it a round number.
Worried
I mean-
about round numbers.
Well, believe it, it's that way
3%,
almost
you're playing with-
everywhere
You're
else.
playing with
3%
pennies
is
here for 8
pennies.
years.
Why are you worried about round numbers? The director of administration in 2020 made $136,063.
Well, but-
So why are we worried about round
What would you
numbers?
suggest?
The salaries normally are, well, I guess I stand corrected.
they're not.
Yeah, they're different amounts, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, we've had a suggestion. Is there any comments related to that suggestion?
The 120, I'd go with the 120 number. That 120 number essentially is a little bit more than the CPI. That gives you Now, I'm rounding, a round number for your there's your round number for the 120. But, I have the exact numbers here, but if that gives you your CPI, the CPI takes it to 116, based on the 107, which is sort of where you're at now. Then gives a little, at 107, if you compound that 3%, at 2026, that gets you to 124.29, which is 3% for 5 years. Granted, those are past years. Then that essentially means from that 107, you get 3% every year till 2026, then it falls off, and then that'll be your set number. I like the 120 number for mathematically for that reason. Also, local government wise, if you look at municipalities, city managers, Mr. Pasota knows very well and specifically mentioned it should go up, and I'm well aware. I mean, but
He personally said it. But like we said, part of the
Personally
problem
true.
of having these people in here, and this is what I said at the last meeting, is it taints the process, in my view.
And I would support the director of administration getting a raise, but that's not what we're here. Listen, Dr. Sebastian, I understand, and I understand we have a difference of opinion, but mine matters too. The director of administration, they're the ones who are tasked with knowing the new HR rules, adding wastewater treatment plants and that sort of thing. But that's not what we're here for.
Yeah.
didn't you have the direct,
And regardless, I'm just trying to be transparent. I feel like we are sitting over here saying, we just don't think it's fair for someone to continue to do the same job and not get a raise. I think that's my basic tenet. I understand the idea of, hey, this is county government and people do things because they just want to help. And our time is valuable. Just plain and simple, our time is valuable. And over the years, you get less time.
Well, there's no guarantee this county executive is going to run for reelection and serve another 4 years. So it's not like she'll be in that position for 8 years. And if she runs, no one, again, in my opinion, with my experience, the salary doesn't matter for politically elected positions.
Well,
now, can I put a suggestion out? So I would say a 120 round number. Yours was at 110. Is anyone in between there?
Yeah, I'm going to throw a middle of the road at it.
Okay.
I like the idea, actually, of going up in steps, which you can do as long as they're finite numbers, so they're set before the term of office. I would suggest just doing 2,000 up each year. First year, 109, 111, 113, 115. That's what I'd suggest. And that's just middle of the road to get out of here. Now, if people don't, people don't want to do a raise, that's fine. I mean, I'm not highly in favor of giving a raise. But I think that, and you have to look at Cecil County, you have to look at these other counties. I mean, you can't just go off and say, oh, well, we're just not going to consider that.
I think everybody has considered all the information that's been presented in front of us. I don't think anybody is tossing out any of the information that we've received from Cecil County or any other county. I think we've taken into consideration. I think we've done our homework.
Not only are we
To the
already
point
well
where-
above Cecil County, but in Cecil County, just for example, the median average household income in Cecil
We know,
County is
Bob, we know.
110.
We know.
Here it's 92.
I read it too.
That's a hell of a difference.
Yeah, we've all seen it, we've all thought about it.
do we feel
we've done our
comfortable putting a
homework, and
motion?
We've deliberated and.
The other thing, just to drop it in there real quick, and it was in the agenda that Ms. Hurley and Ms. Ingold sent out to us, that they got from the Donna O'Hara from the HR department concerning the how the personal vehicle affects the income tax salary. So, based off the $107,000 that the executive's getting paid right now, that is actually not truly their salary. Their salary increases with what they use the county vehicle for personal use.
And it's an $80,000.
They've got a
vehicle. It's not a pickup truck.
$67,000 Tahoe.
$80,000 Tahoe, I think.
Well, I'm just going off the numbers.
Yeah.
But when it's used for personal use, that gets added into the executive's taxable income. So, the 107 is kind of a base salary.
But you say that, I mean, because that's an IRS rule. So then
Right,
the same
right.
will apply to your Cecil's.
They don't have a,
They don't have a
Yeah.
vehicle.
They use strictly their personal
No,
vehicle
yes.
and get
Yes.
mileage reimbursement?
Yes.
Correct.
Assume at the
And that
70
goes
70
in-
cents a
that-
mile?
Well, that goes into their income too.
True.
The mileage.
True.
allowance, yes.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about, trying to focus on the daily task and the job, but, Mr. Posada was talking about the amount of responsibility that is on that person. He talked about the responsibility of signing a major contract and having that responsibility. I went back to public service. Mr. Holloway can testify to what it's like to put yourself out here in the public, voicing your opinion and getting all sides of it. There should be some pay compensation for those kinds of situations.
Yeah, but
So, and yeah, they signed up for it,
no,
Yeah.
not that it's that's not-
but it's more than just coming into an office and working with department heads and those kinds of things. There comes a lot of other responsibilities and a lot of other things that come along with this job.
Yes, and that wasn't my point. That wasn't what I was going to say. But the executive, whoever, I mean, they're bonded, they're covered by the county attorneys, and, so they're not liable when they sign their name to a contract. The county is, and it's going to be. I mean, I have signed my name on the bottom of $2 million fire trucks, that the only person responsible to pay that fire truck off is me, because I wasn't bonded in it. So
And did you?
My thing was always, it's my fire truck until it's paid for.
Madam Chairman.
Call me out, so I'm gonna say.
Go ahead.
I've been on the council since the first county executive came on. I was involved in county politics a lot longer than that. I was on the Civic Center Commission. I helped 3 different county council members in their campaigns. All 3 of them won, which not due to me helping them, but they were. So I was around county business a lot longer than a county executive. Wicomico County run a lot better without a county executive. It really did, because the county council did legislative and executive functions. The county executive position, I've served with Rick, I've served with Bob, I've served with John Posada, and I've served with Mrs. Giordano. Those positions were all won, except for John, so he was appointed, a popularity contest. Julie Giordano worked really hard to get elected. So you can say that was popularity because she worked really hard to get elected. Rick worked pretty hard to get elected, but Rick was well known. Bob Culver was well known. Bob Culver was the youngest real estate agent in Wicomico County's history. So I've been asked several times to run for county executive. I don't want the job. I think I could get elected. Maybe, I don't know. I've been elected 5-6 times now to county council. I got 78% of the vote last time when my opponent's mother spent a great amount of money trying to get me beat. I don't want the job, but it's a popularity contest. If people want that job, they're gonna run for it. It don't matter what it pays, because most, not all, but some are gonna look at that job as a stepping stone to go to Annapolis, to do something else. So it's
That's a good point.
popularity contest.
That's a good
You
point.
don't have to have an education. I mean, I didn't graduate from high school, okay? But I could run for county, I could run for president of the United States. So you don't have to have any qualifications other than being a nice guy or a great gal, one of the two, and getting out here and banging on doors. So the money, you could pay $200,000, you could pay $50,000. It don't matter, whoever wants the job. So.
I know,
Unless you have to call me out, I tried.
that's okay, no, that's okay.
May we
I
make a
appreciate
motion?
your input. I
Mr.
appreciate your
Taylor,
input.
are you making a motion on your salary range?
I'll second it if you move it.
Well, let me say this.
Go ahead.
So Mrs. Hurley said that she was asking for clarification whether we could do the step or not. That she wasn't 100% clear that we could do that. So,
I'll make
yeah.
a motion under the
Yeah.
condition
Yeah.
we are allowed to.
And I can tell you, there are some counties that have it.
It
We're
may
not-
be, but I
would
want to
not
make sure
do
that we are,
Yeah.
that it's been clarified and that we've got it documented,
That's
that
why I say,
that's from the attorney's
if we
office
are
that way.
allowed to do it, I will.
So what is your motion?
I will make the motion that the salary be increased by $2,000 each of the 4 years of the next term.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
I mean, okay, so, and then I guess backup plan would be, if we had to do a lump sum, would you have a number there? Would it be not,
We don't need a backup plan.
you don't need a backup plan?
I mean, they're not going,
Okay.
they can pick whatever they like.
And just in consideration, $2,000 raise in what's the county budget? 200 million?
200.
Yeah, I mean, it's .0000,
not
out there,
that-
so
we over here
I
right
think the taxpayers can live with that.
And then if you see, even at the 107 number, you're less than that's less than 2% a year.
Yeah.
If the number's 100, you're right at 2. So
Right, right.
you're saying for 4 years, you get less than 2%. Saying it off the tongue doesn't sound good.
No. But it is.
But if everyone's got, obviously, we got to come to some middle
Yeah, we're
ground, or
looking
else we're
for
going to go back
comfort.
and forth, and my friend over here is going to stay up till 1 a.m. again. We got, let's,
We're looking for
He's going to regardless, don't worry.
Okay,
That's
so you've made your motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I seconded it.
We have a second. Lynn, you have you have that? Okay, discussion? Does everybody have a chance to speak before we? Okay, so I'm going to ask the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Post.
We have one opposed.
Two
Two
opposed.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you, guys.
Joe and Steve.
The New Yorkers.
Different reason.
Yep.
Michelle,
For a
I'm
different
sorry, I have
reason.
a hard stop. I need to.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you, everybody.
So next meeting, we will have clarification from the attorney. Hopefully, they agree with what we've done today with the decision. We can move forward. Next meeting, we will start focusing on the county council.
You can call the county council members in to speak.
We can't.
Time
have a
limit,
quorum,
time limit.
But we can't have a forum, right? But does everybody, would
Yeah.
everybody want to have a couple?
Can we have a
Yeah, bring in James Nguyen.
3-minute time limit per council member?
Yeah, I second that.
Okay,
Take care.
So we will, is there anyone specifically that you would like to ask?
David Ennis would be
I would
good.
say
David
the
Ennis
He
would
has
be, yeah.
20 different years of
I would
experience.
say the longest tenured,
Yeah.
didn't you mention you're
No,
the
it'd be
longest?
Mr. Holloway,
Yeah,
you're the
Mr. Holloway,
longest tenured, huh?
he'll be here. Yep.
Him and John.
And John. Okay, so we have David Ennis, Mr. Holloway, and John.
And Mr. Merritt.
You can only have 3.
We
Oh,
can only
You
have
can't,
3.
otherwise you have a
He told
quorum.
me last night it was 5.
You can have more than 4 people.
Can't?
Yeah, as long as.
It's not considered as a quorum?
As long as they're not debating something.
Oh, I didn't
Okay,
realize.
You know.
so you want Merritt, Jeff Merritt,
Yeah.
Not know that.
okay? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No.
To adjourn.
So,
Second?
second.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.